What does the Nintendo Switch mean to you? For a lot of people, it was just a game system. But I'm not joking when I say the Nintendo Switch changed my life. Howdy, folks! How are y'all doing? My name is Reese, and welcome back to the Minecraft 2025 Let's Play Adventure, where today, I just thought we'd have more time than we ended up having. Or rather, I thought it would take less time to build the island. We're not actually going to finish it. You might remember the reason we started this project so that we could more effectively harvest trees. We wanted to build up the island and then plant it full of trees, and unfortunately, our time is up. We just didn't actually manage to do that, and the reason we wanted to do that in the first place was to harvest as many trees as possible, as quickly as possible, for a big project that I had in mind that I've not talked about. But as of right now, it looks like we might just have to skip the whole island part and move right on to the cutting down the trees part. And that's what we're going to do today. I have to pick the wood that I want for the project. I haven't actually done that yet, but we're going to go have a look at our wood collection, our assortment of different woods, and we're going to see kind of what we vibe with, what we feel with. Then we're going to go harvest all of the trees currently on Dead Bull Island and plant all new ones. And then I guess I'm just going to spend the next hours, however long it takes, collecting wood. Now, for this project, we're going to be using the actual logs themselves, right? We're not going to be using planks. So we need to pick the logs that speak to our soul. We're definitely not going to use mangrove because those are a hassle to cut down. Obviously, bamboo is not going to work. I do like the pale oak. I think the pale oak might be sort of a front runner here. I like that it is basically oak, but slightly more pale. I think that it does have a different texture as well. It's not just a paler oak log. That's a disservice to it. I feel like dark oak is too dark, if you know what I mean. It's not going to be acacia, as much as I like acacia wood, and I do, and we've not really had the opportunity to use it anywhere. It's too bland, right? I like the texturing on the pale oak as opposed to the acacia. Although, I mean, look, the acacia is nice. I want to find a project for acacia wood. I like acacia wood, so if you have any ideas or suggestions on how we might use acacia in the future, let me know. It's never going to be birch. It could be cherry. That's the thing, is I'm looking at it, I'm realizing spruce isn't bad. It was never going to be jungle. That was never even really in the running. Again, it's too bland a texture. It really is just a darker shade of oak. And then as for the cherry, see, I like that. I do like the cherry. But I have another super project in the future that's going to use a lot of cherry wood. So I feel like at the end of the day, yeah, we might be sticking with the pale oak. Somehow or another, we've worked our way through all of them, and we've determined that we're sticking with pale oak. That's interesting to me. It's definitely not what was anticipated. But here we are, and there's no rolling that back. So we already have some in there, but we're going to head out now and start cutting down trees. And while we're at it, I'm probably going to leave some things on the main... Oh, well, I guess I could bring them with me in case I end up needing them. I was going to leave behind, for example, my crates and my shield. We definitely need more food before we head over there. I act as though it's this great journey, this pilgrimage, this epic pilgrimage we're about to go on. You know, hopping from Gilliam Island to Dead Bull Island. It's like 20 feet. Do I have a lot of torches? I really need to light this place up now, because monsters do spawn at night. I have 16 torches on me, and I would reckon there's probably some inside of either tools and equipment or one of the other chests. But you know what? We can just make 4 stacks rapidly. Do we want to make 4 stacks rapidly? That's a lot of torches, and we don't need that many. Well, I'll tell you what. We will make that many, and then we'll leave most of them behind here. How about that? And we'll just take a stack with us. But now we've got plenty more for the future as well. It's important to be prepared for the future. You never know what life's going to throw your way! So you want to be ready on that given day. So down, down, down we go to the island far away. And while we're here, we're going to place down some of our torches. I thought about bringing dirt and going ahead and... Oh, you know what? I just realized we need to, like, deselect that. There we go. I thought about bringing dirt and then topping all of this off with dirt, because ultimately that's what we're going to end up doing, is topping all of this off with dirt. But we're not going to do that right now. I don't know if I really need to have this on. I feel like I could probably place them down with vibes. We had an issue with a creeper here, And unfortunately, we don't have enough sand to do anything about it. So we just sort of have to live with the consequences of the creeper's actions for now. We'll worry about putting down the dirt later, when we actually need to be worried about it. That doesn't mean taking down all of these torches in the future, because in the future, all of this is going to get covered in dirt. Maybe I should have just done that. I don't know. In any case, we shouldn't have any more monster spawns to worry about. Unless they spawn, like, here, amidst all of this, which wouldn't shock me. I'm going to go ahead and plant these down. Although, also, you know what we probably need to do? Is we need to go get our allays and bring them over. Because I think they're going to be very helpful. And I even talked about trying to figure out in the past how the allays actually work, so that we could have them drop things off into chests for us, or into our crates. And we haven't done that yet. And at this point, I don't know, do we want to try to figure that out now? When so little time is left to us for this project, since I've decided to run the clock and get us right up against the deadline, do we really want to take a moment, even just a moment, to pause operation, to pause our work, and figure out how to play a song and make them go over and put stuff in a... I think not. I think them just handing me the stuff is fine. What I would really like to do is hand the allays axes, and if I start cutting down trees, they also start cutting down trees. I think that would be a really cool thing to have the allays do, right? If they just aggressively start chopping down trees alongside you. I can see how that would get dicey if you're next to your base. But I mean, I guess they could probably determine the difference between a placed block and a naturally spawned one from a tree, and just not attack the placed ones. That would make sense to me. That's how I would have it work. But then again, I'm not a Minecraft programmer. I don't make the game. What I do is I make videos, and it's a lot of fun. And in the past, when we had a big project where we were cutting stuff down, we took the time to discuss the Nintendo Switch 2. And I thought about it before I started recording this video, and I thought, well, this is mostly going to be a video of me cutting down trees. Are there any interesting discussion topics, things we might talk about while we cut down the trees? And I guess I can turn this off now because it's wrong button. It's a little bit distracting. But I did come up with some ideas, one of which was discussing the legacy of the original Nintendo Switch. You know, I think that it's had quite the interesting life, and I've had quite the interesting story, the history with it. I guess the story isn't that interesting, the history. Here's the thing, right? It's hard for me to talk in grand generalized terms about the Nintendo Switch and the impact it had on the world and gaming and all of that, when my experience with it wasn't this broad sort of a picture. It was a very personal one, you know? I remember the day I went to get the Nintendo Switch, and I remember all of the events leading up to it. And I don't know, maybe that makes for an interesting pastime. You folks can let me know when it's all said and done in the comments section. But for right now, I'm getting ready to go get the allays. I wanted to try to cut one of these down, so we would get the wood as well as a sapling, which we did, because those are the two things that I'm going to want the allays to help me with. Maybe also picking up sticks, if these drop sticks, but we got to cut down a lot of wood in order to get any of this to decay, seems to be the problem. There we go! Yes, they do indeed drop sticks. What we really do need is a third allay, and I'm trying to remember how you actually go about breeding them, because if we had a third one, that would be an epic boon to our work. So maybe before we get into the discussion about the history of the Nintendo Switch and my experience with it, and all of that, you know, basically, I want to make very clear, I don't think that I'm such an interesting individual that you'll care about my personal history with the Nintendo Switch. I'm really just trying to fill time here, and it's really easy to talk about oneself, alright? It's the subject that most people know best, themselves, you know, for better or for worse. And so I remember the Nintendo Switch, and a lot happened with the Nintendo Switch, even on the Howdy Folks scene. So there's a lot to discuss there. For now, though, let's head back across the way, and we'll see if we can't breed a third allay. Maybe even a fourth one. Now, in order to do this, we will need a jukebox. Now, I knew a guy named Bubba once who shot the jukebox because it played a sad song that made him cry. He just went to his truck, he grabbed a 45, he shot the jukebox that night. It was wild. Did anyone else growing up think it was jute with a T? I feel like that's how no one says jukebox, like jukebox. Everyone says jukebox. It's just sort of, well, I mean, at least around where I live. You know, it was sort of confusing to find it with a K in it. What does juke even mean? I feel like if I looked that up in Urban Dictionary, it would not have anything to do with music, which is why we're not going to do that. What are my music disc options? I've got blocks and I've got 13. What do you reckon? Oh, hold on. No, we've also got creator. That one's a bop. We're going to take that one. And apparently all you do is play music and then whack them with an amethyst shard. Maybe we ought to get 2 amethyst shards. And then we'll whack them twice. And I feel like those should actually be over here with like the diamonds and things. But you know what? We'll worry about organization and order and disorder and all of that in the future. For right now, let's head up top here. Plop down the jukebox. Need to get them out of there. Thank you. Nice and simple. How are y'all doing? I was gonna go ahead and give them the items, but I guess for right now we'll just start, stop bebopping here. It's weird that the jukebox is playing and the Minecraft music is playing at the same time. Are you gonna dance? Is that you dancing? Oh my gosh, it was just instantaneous. Where'd the other one go? Are you dancing? You're not dancing. Come back up top. Hey! Get back up here! I think he's dancing now. There we go! Look at that. How fun is this? Okay, so these two, though, don't have anything that they're holding. Let's correct that. We'll just leave the jukebox playing. Oh, it follows you. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was gonna follow me. There you go. That's yours. Okay, give me what you have. You're gonna have a stick now. And then you're going to have, this. And then the last guy here... I mean, we'll let him follow us. He's just collecting rotten flesh. Let me go to sleep first. Let me go to sleep first. And then we'll hop to it. Hold on, did it spit the disc back out when it's done, or is it just in there? No. It said it was empty, but that was a lie. I kind of like this. I think maybe for now we leave the jukebox up here. And we'll just throw the disc in there, but we just have to remember where it is. Or maybe we bring it up here into our room at some point. That would be cool. Wait, what do you have? I thought you had rotten flesh. That looked like a steak for a second. What are you carrying? What do you got that for? That doesn't make any sense at all. I have rotten flesh right here. Give me that. Come here. Give me the steak. Take the rotten flesh. I don't know what you're doing with either of those, to be fair, but, like, there you go. Alright, I need everyone to follow me outside. I did not anticipate this being the trickiest part of this endeavor. Fellas, big double door over here. There we go. I mean, you're literally the least useful one to have come outside. Where's the other ones? Oh, he's trying. He's trying. Come on, big fella, you can do it. Or, I guess, little guy, really. Do I have to, like, leash them and guide them out the door? That's inconvenient. There you are. Come on, let's go. There we go. Wait a minute, hold on, no, we're still missing one. How'd you get back inside? Wait! Hey! Oh my gosh, this is getting out of control. Come here. Let's go. Follow me this way. We're almost there. We've almost gone and done it. We've got them all outside. They should now all follow me. Whoever coded these needs to be fired. Whoever was responsible for them just not actually following you through a door, out of the company! Out of the country! Mojang can do better. We know that they can. I looked at Melania and I said, wow, whoever coded these definitely does not deserve the job they have. Get them out of there. Oh, don't fly in front of the axe there, bud. That's a good way to die. Okay, go to work. Do your thing. Excellent. I'm impressed so far. I guess in order to talk about the Nintendo Switch, we need to talk about my entire history with Nintendo. Because we're gonna be at this for a while, and I'll be gosh darned if I don't have to fill the air, okay? So let me tell you an extremely detailed breakdown of my history with video games. My first ever Nintendo console was a Game Boy Color, and I know that's a handheld, but handheld consoles are still consoles. The Nintendo Switch, I think most people probably play it mostly handheld, you know? I know I certainly have. Not recently, I think more recently I have played it mostly docked, just because I don't take it around with me as much anymore, and I pretty much only kind of use it when I'm streaming. You know what? I played Mario Wonder just about 100% in handheld mode, so I take it all back. Anyway, Game Boy Color. I don't remember how old I was. I was anywhere between 6 and 8, somewhere in that ballpark, when I went to my cousin's, my younger cousin's birthday, and they had gotten him a Game Boy Color. Or it might have been a regular Game Boy. That's the funny part, is I don't remember. What I do know is that he didn't have much of an interest in it, and my uncle handed it to me and was like, do you want to play it? Do you want to see if it works and everything? Because they hadn't actually tested it. And, it was the 90s, and people back then just didn't believe technology worked, so you had to test it. So he fired up what I want to say was probably Mario Land, although I don't know that. Like, that's the problem, and that's one of the things that irks me to this day. All that time ago, I don't know what the first Nintendo game I ever played on that handheld system was. In my mind, when I look back on it, I think it might have been Mario. But is that just, like, my brain retroactively filling in a blank with a thing I'm familiar with? I'm familiar with what Mario Land looks like. It seems like it could have been that, but it might not have been, so I guess we'll never actually know. But I remember playing on it, and I remember just having my mind blown that such a thing could even exist. I had no idea that you could have games on the go. Because back then, you had, like, your Tiger Electronics sort of crappy black and white screen. I don't even remember what they call those, where it's like you have a set of static images and they just sort of light up in a sequence and you're playing football, kind of. You know what I'm talking about. Those kind of little handheld systems. And they were terrible, and I hated them, but you always got them from your grandparents who didn't know kind of like what to get you, and they always got you just like the worst presents, and it was things like that, where they're like, oh, he's a kid, he'll like a game. Here's the worst possible. Here's a Tiger Electronic piece of e-waste. Enjoy. We didn't know what e-waste was at the time. That's what e-waste was at the time, though. Like we would grow up and find out in the future what e-waste was. It was these little Tiger Electronic handheld. Anyway, from that point forward, I really wanted my own Game Boy. It made so much more sense to me at the time than something like a console that plugs into the TV. In fact, I don't even really know if I was cognitive of what those were. We'll get to that chapter later on. But at the time, I wanted to get me a Game Boy, and I had an allowance that I got paid. By the way, real quick, parents, I've seen a lot of really stupid opinions on allowances. I've seen people say, like, you should just give your kids money and they shouldn't have to work for it. Bad advice. I've heard that your kids should just work around the house and they shouldn't get anything in return. Bad advice. If you're a parent, you need to teach your children the value of work and how to manage money. And a work-for allowance does both. I don't know why my parents were uniquely qualified to understand this. I mean, I've said before that I had some of the best parents around. Absolutely crushed raising me. Absolutely just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Me and my brother, we've turned out so well. And it's entirely because of my just brilliant, perfect parents. Well, they weren't perfect. No one's perfect. But what I'm trying to get at here is that if you disagree with what I'm telling you, you're wrong, and your kids are going to turn out bad. But the idea of the work for allowance is that you do some menial tasks that help around the house. Every day I would go out and I would get the mail, and I would take the trash out. And it was just those basic little things, and they paid me $3 a week. Which doesn't sound like a lot because it wasn't, but it was in the 90s. So if you do some quick conversion, if you look at with inflation and everything, that was actually closer to about $3,000 today, those $3. So that's pretty good, right? Like, I was making bank. But $3 a week, and I would save it. I aggressively saved it. Every so often I would buy a Star Wars action figure, but for the most part I saved that money. And I saved up until I could go buy a Game Boy Color, all right? And I really wanted the red one. But when I went to the Walmart, they didn't have the red one. They had the yellow one and a couple other colors. And I was like, no, actually, I do want the yellow one. And my mom was like, I don't think you do. I think you just want to get one. But if you're patient and you wait, and I was like, I'll be very happy if I get the yellow one. And you know what? I'm really glad I got the yellow one. Even though my mom was absolutely correct, I just wanted I wanted the red one. But more than anything, I just wanted a Game Boy Color. And at that point, if it was between waiting any longer, because I had to save, what were they, $60? And I had to save $3 basically a week. I had a bit of starting capital on that endeavor because I'd been saving money up until that point. But I was like, listen. I'm going. I'm leaving that store with this Game Boy Color, and I left that store with the Game Boy Color and the Lego Stunt Rally game. It might have just been called Lego Stunt Rally. It was a fun time. Played the heck out of that game. Had a wonderful experience, and that was where my adventure with not just Nintendo but with gaming started. Because before that, I played games on the PC. I was a PC gamer, not because it was elite, but because we already had one sitting in the living room, running Windows 95. In fact, I think the first video game I ever played would have probably ended up being that ski game that you got on, like, Windows 3.1 or whatever, where you ski downhill. It was awful. Some kind of monster comes out and tries to eat you. What is that, a Yeti? Is that a wolf? What is that? My memory is failing me now. I don't remember what kind of beast that was. But what I do remember is that I played the heck of it out of my uncle's house, and that was a good time. So I stand by that game now. Looking back on it, I absolutely stand by it. Before we continue our story, though, let's check our inventory. We're doing okay. We're doing all right. We've got a bit. It's going in the clutter crate here, whereas in the gray shulker box without a name, we'll put the saplings and the sticks. And then, rather than just waiting on these to grow, what happened with you? How did that even happen? Rather than waiting on these to grow, I'm going to fly home quick as I can, try to get inside before the Allays catch up and also get inside. I'm going to go to sleep, and I'm also going to get some bone meal. There we go. Righto, the dawn of a new day. Let's go, my friends. Let's go. Back across to the island. I don't think we really need the rockets unless we're going to hit the water, which, I don't know, looks like we could. Nah, we're going to make it. We're totally going to make it. We are not going to miss this. There we go. I went ahead and got an entire stack of bone blocks, because those can be broken down into a ton of bone meal. And then the bone meal can be used to grow the trees back up. We don't really need to grow more than a couple at a time, because in the time it takes us to cut those down, hopefully more will grow. But now we resume our story with me wanting to get a video game console, and at the time, I really wanted the Nintendo 64. Now, the Nintendo 64 at the time was on its way out, and someone told my dad that, and my dad cautioned me against getting the Nintendo 64, so instead I got the Dreamcast. This was in 2001. So for those of you who know gaming history, you can probably guess how that worked out for me. You want to talk about systems on the way out? I bought that thing. I want to say it was $50. I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure I walked into a Toys R Us in St. Louis, Missouri, and I bought myself a Dreamcast for $50 on clearance because they were trying to get rid of the darn things. You know, talk about console. I literally never found a game in a store after that. Every game I got after that had to be got online because it was done. Sega was out of the console market. They weren't going back in anytime in the future. So it was just over. It was just over. That's all there was to it. And yeah, what a disappointment. I feel like we're not getting enough saplings out of these trees. Shouldn't they drop more saplings? That's a little bit concerning, isn't it? If I break these leaves, right, with it shows me that I should use a sword, shears, or a hoe. If I put fortune on a hoe and I break the leaves, will it drop more saplings? I guess that's my question. And maybe we're about to go find out today. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. We'll see how this wraps up. But in any case, I did not own another Nintendo system. Okay, actually a Nintendo console. I did not own an N64. I did not own a GameCube. I went PS2, you know. I did not own a Wii. My brother got a Wii. We had a family Wii, I guess you could say. And we all played, as you would, Wii Sports on it. It's just what you did at the time. But I myself did not own another Nintendo system, aside from the DS. I bought myself a GBA SP, and I mostly just played Star Wars games on it, because that's how I was as a child. And then I would go on to get a DS from my parents for Christmas. But mostly, up until 2016, I just didn't get another Nintendo system. The story will continue in a moment, but first off, let me figure out how I want to trick out this netherite hoe. I mean, first off, what can I get if I just toss it in here? Efficiency 3? I mean, I will need to put Efficiency 3 on it, but let me check. Let me get the calculator pulled up here. We haven't used this thing in a long time. Fortune is the only thing I'm missing here. Am I misremembering it, or can we buy that across the way there? I feel like I never... That guy over there has something, and I can never quite remember what it is. Thing is, I don't really want the Allays to follow me, because they will get lost between here and there, and I'll have to go on a grand expedition to find them again. But at the same time, like, how do I avoid that? Maybe if I just fly fast, right? First off, we'll fly straight up. So they'll try to follow me up, I assume. And then I just gain speed. And hopefully we lose them. Whoop! Oh, always nice to visit the estate. Hello, everyone. Nice to see y'all congregating inside here. What do you have? You have looting. Darn you. Darn you to heck. Someone down here has got to have it, right? Someone down here has got to have it. It's not gonna be you. Oh, hey. Like, I just feel like someone has fortune. I feel like one of these guys... I did not mean to do that. My bad. This is a nuisance. We probably shouldn't have those there. This guy has Fortune 3, but which... Oh, no, that's what I want. Never mind, that's exactly what I want. It's kind of expensive, though. Like, I don't even have enough here. I have been keeping emeralds down here as I trade in rotten flesh. We have nothing better to do with them. We might as well just go ahead and buy this book, and that's all the 4 enchantments we want. Not only do we have a netherite hoe, but we're about to have a fully maxed netherite hoe. I just want to throw that out there. This is the absurdity that we are currently living with. So apparently the order we want to put these in is we want to have Fortune 3 first. Whoop. And then we want to combine together, and I've done this so many times, you think I'd have it memorized, but Unbreaking 3 and Mending, and you want to get them in the right order, because otherwise it's more expensive. And then you combine that with this here, I believe. I'll give you, yep, and then finally that for a cost of... Hold on, we gotta rename it. Let's see if Grok can give us a funny name. Here's one I just came up with by myself, right? Like, Grok is generating answers right now as I speak, but... can't make a wife out of a... Right? Right? Because it... Okay. Grok is stuck on processing. I've never seen this before. I don't know if Grok is being particularly hammered right now with just a ton of requests from people, but it is never not just sped out a list. I'm copying the prompt, closing and reopening Grok. Maybe it's because it's got the word hoe in it. I'm gonna add for a gardening hoe in Minecraft. Oh, there we go! Alright then. Okay, hilarious. I like that one. Crop duster, this one's great. Tillin Tickler. Come on. Soil mate, you're my soil mate. Weed whacker, Dirt digger, Plant pusher, Furrow flinger, Hoedown. That's so good! It's got a Howdy Folks sort of a southern ring to it. Sprout Spanker! Oh my gosh! That is some funny alliteration. And he ends it off by saying, enjoy naming your trusty tool. I mean, I still, like, can't make a wife out of, hilarious. It's between hilarious, the Tillin Tickler, and quite honestly, Hoedown and Sprout Spanker are all good. But I came up with this one myself, which makes it feel more, like, original. Can't make a wife out of a... I mean, it's... Here we go. What can I say? There you go, bro. So now we resume our story, and I realize I missed a critical element of it. In the early 2000s, my friend got a hand-me-down... My friend Nathan got a hand-me-down Nintendo Entertainment System, and we played the original Mario on there, and I thought it was so much fun that I, too, wanted an old hand-me-down Nintendo Entertainment System. So I went on to the old internet bay, the old electronic bay. Where are the other guys at? And I bought my own Nintendo Entertainment System, and I played Mario 1, 2, and 3, and we also had Tetris. Those are the 4 games we had for it. And Duck Hunt. I played the heck out of them and loved every second of it. So I had this now history with Mario. I had the game I think I played the most of on the DS was New Super Mario Brothers, and I knew that a game had come out for the Wii, for the Wii U, New Super Mario Brothers 2 had come out for the DS. Where are the other ones? Did they actually try to follow me and now they're missing? This was what I was worried about, is that they would attempt to follow me across the bay and then I'd have to go on an expedition for them. Alright, well, we'll get by with these 2 for now. I'm not worried about them. Keep in mind, we lost the original 2, both of them. I think one of them for like over a month, and eventually I just chanced upon it while I was out in a boat somewhere. It just came back to me. It was like, hey, I've been in this unloaded chunk for literally just weeks at this point. You know, and I was like, oh my gosh, well, welcome home. So the other 2, they're up there, or they're out there, and at some point going back and forth, they'll pop back in and go, oh, thank goodness, there you are. We got separated. And it's not going to be a big deal. And I'm not going to worry about it right now. So, in 2016, I had a hankering. Okay, I had a hankering for some Mario. Couldn't tell you why. Don't know myself. So I sat out to get a new 3DS XL. I did a lot of research, because I was like, what's going on in the 3DS scene right now? I knew that the DSi had come out, and that there was a 3DS, but I didn't know that there was a new 3DS. Like, I went in deep. I remember going into the Game Exchange, I was like, do you have any new 3DS XLs? And they're like, well, we sell old, like, used systems. I was like, no, you misunderstand, you fool. What I'm asking is, do you have the one with the little nub on it? Because that's how you, like, delineate them. Well, that was not great. That was supposed to give me, like, a whole lot more saplings, and so far, I'm not impressed. What was the purpose of putting Fortune on here? what was the purpose? At this point, I feel like the Fortunate Axe might actually be better. It's not. So I got my new 3DS XL, and then I was like, man, you know what? Maybe I ought to get a Wii U. Because Mario Maker intrigued me. I want to throw out there that I got a used Wii U on the old Electronic Bay, and it came with Mario Maker, and I never played it once. But that console ended up coming in handy, because I got real into Nintendo stuff at that time in my life. And I started getting hyped for this NX, this new rumored system that was going to combine together both the Nintendo's console market and their handheld market. They were going to stop focusing on two different systems. Everything was going to be focused on one system. That was exciting. That was intriguing. I was looking forward to it. I know many other folks were as well. And so I was there, but during the big announcement stream, I think it was in October 2016, they sort of revealed the system to the world, and then I was there when they did the January stream, I want to say, where we actually got a proper look at the new Mario game that was going to be coming out at the end of the year. I was hyped. I was excited. And it was the Nintendo Switch. And yeah, we finally did it. We finally caught up on the thing I said we were going to talk about, which was the Nintendo Switch. Are you excited? Are you happy? I'm not. I thought we would have gotten enough, I thought we would have gotten enough of the wood by now. The whole reason I've been talking about that, I've been just trying to talk about this to give it time for trees to spawn, for me to cut the trees down, so that we would have enough wood for the project. At this point, I was in a kind of a lull in content creation, which is where the conversation about the Nintendo Switch really kind of kicks off, right? I was in a bit of a lull because the Tekkit Legends pack had taken a lot out of me. It had actually a lot was taken out of me doing that series. I was kind of tired, and I don't want to say depressed, but I was a little melancholic. I didn't have a lot of inspiration for creating new content. But I decided, in the lead up to the Switch's release, that I was going to play through all the Zelda games, because the big launch title was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I didn't care. I wasn't hyped about it. I wasn't excited about it. At that point, the only Zelda game I'd ever played was the original Zelda, which I'd got on the new 3DS, because I just browsed the eShop and I said, that's a game I should probably play. I should probably know what, like, all the references are. I've heard so much about, it's dangerous to go alone, take this, and I want to see it firsthand. And so I did. I picked that up and I played it. I mostly followed a guide. It was a good time. I enjoyed it, but wasn't really hyped. I had never played a 3D Zelda game. I didn't know what order they'd released in, what I should play them in. It was a good time to be a fan, though, because at that point you could get all the 3D Zelda games. If you had a Wii U and you had a 3DS, you could play all the 3D Zelda games, which you currently really can't do on the Nintendo Switch. Yes, I guess Wind Waker is coming out in the NSO, but it's going to be the GameCube version, which is just objectively inferior to the Wii U re-release, which fixed a lot of the problems of that game. But if you had a 3DS and a Wii U, you had Twilight Princess Remaster, you had the Wind Waker Remaster, you had you had Wii capability, so you could play Skyward Sword, and furthermore, you could on your 3DS play just about every 2D Zelda ever made, if not actually every single one. I can't remember if the Seasons games were on there or not. I don't think GBA games ever came to the storefront on there, did they? For whatever reason. I don't think they could ever quite work that out. I might be misremembering. I might be completely wrong. But you had Majora's Mask, and you had Ocarina of Time on the 3DS. So, like, you were set to go if you were a big Zelda fan. And so I remember was it December? It was in December. My brother was asking me what I wanted for Christmas. I was like, if you want to pick me up Ocarina of Time for the 3DS. Because I did some research. I was like, what order did these games come out in? And what order should I play them in? And are they connected? And does it matter? And it was like, look, no, if you want to, play them in release order. And the only two you need to worry about playing like back-to-back is Ocarina and Majora's Mask. Those are the only two that are really properly direct sequels to one another. Also, for whatever reason, it's dropping more saplings now. I don't know why. It has nothing to do with the hoe. I think we wasted our time. Maybe the hoe will be useful in the future on other projects. I don't regret it. But, yeah, so for Christmas morning, cracked it open. My brother had gotten me Ocarina of Time. I sat at my family's house in the living room and just played that for the first time. And I remember getting to the Great Deku Tree and going through that little dungeon. Nothing special, but I was like, I get it now. I get why people love these games. I absolutely get it. This is a ton of fun. I understand now all the complaints about, hey, listen! Like, no, yep, fully justified. Absolutely warranted. Totally get it. Very irritating. Oh no! Where are you? Oh no, I think it just died. It was inside of the tree and it blew up. Oh no! Oh wait, well we still have 2. Okay, no, I think we're fine. From there, I remember going to have a lunch at my grandma's house. And as everyone left, I sort of, we all went our own ways. And I was heading back to my house and said, I'm going to run by the Game Exchange and see if I can get some of these other games. I'm going to see if I can find... I think I was specifically looking for Twilight Princess on the Wii. Because I didn't know maybe about the Wii U remaster, I'm not sure. But I was looking for that, and I was looking for Skyward Sword. And at this point, I want to throw out there, I had not yet played Wind Waker. I had not gotten Wind Waker yet. So, I went a little out of order, but I picked up those 2 games, and I put in Twilight Princess. I figured I'd play that first. I was going to play through the Wii version of Twilight Princess, if you can believe it. And that ultimately didn't end up working out for me. Come here. I would rather you be collecting these than sticks. Come here. Stop flying away from me, you goof. There you go. But Twilight Princess had a problem with it. I ultimately had to take it back in and get another copy because it was just scratched and it wouldn't get past sort of the opening bit. And I was able to play maybe 30 minutes of it. Enough that when I went to the Wii U version, I was confused with the town being inverted. I knew that was the case. I knew the lore at that point, that the town would be inverted, but it was enough to kind of mess with my brain. But it wasn't even like a full hour, so I barely played any of it. But then I played Skyward Sword. I think I've talked about this, but that game hit me in a particular way. I had a sort of routine around playing that game. I wanted to play them all before the release of Breath of the Wild. I didn't quite manage it. I made it all the way through Majora's Mask, all the way through Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, all the way through, Ocarina of Time, and maybe not even halfway through Twilight Princess, which I would go back to and stream through, actually, some years later. But I was trying to get through all of them, and I had this routine where I would go to work, come home, make dinner, eat dinner, watch a couple episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I was rewatching my way through that show, and I would just play until I couldn't stay awake any longer. Skyward Sword. And I loved it. I loved that game. I loved that silly little game. A lot of people have so much, hatred and hostility and criticism for it. But I adored it. I loved just every second of that silly little game. I guess to get personal and to get real and serious with you folks, I said I was feeling a little melancholy at the time, a little melancholic at the time, and that's true, because a couple of years before that, I had started this Minecraft series called Tekkit 2, and it was the most successful thing I had ever made. And I poured a bunch of time into trying to keep it going. But I couldn't maintain the momentum with that series. And it all kind of fell apart and left me in this sort of melancholic state where I was like, well, I blew it. I had a successful channel. For a brief moment in time, it was bringing in enough revenue that I was like, I could potentially quit my job and do this. I'm glad that I didn't. Well, I'm of 2 minds about it. And maybe if I had, I would have been able to maintain the momentum and carry it on. But also, if I hadn't, where would I then be if I'd quit my job for something that ultimately, didn't work out long term? So, but I felt a little melancholy about the fact that I just barely tasted success, and it was great, and then it didn't work out. And in order to do that, I poured a significant amount of time and effort into that series, so much so that I had sort of, I don't want to say I pushed anyone away, but I had neglected a lot of my friends. And I hadn't seen them in a while, and we texted, but I don't know, for some reason I just felt awkward. I felt like, well, I can't get back into their lives, and I felt very lonely. It was nonsense, of course. All those same people are my friends now. I see them all the time. We hang out all the time. I'm in a much better place now than I was at that point, because I've never again, no matter how successful something was, no matter how ambitious I was, I never let go of reality. And keeping the truly important things sort of first in my life, like my friendships and my family and everything, which is just maybe a good moral lesson out there for anyone who needs it. But at that point, I don't know why, but I felt felt a lot of melancholy. I felt a lot of pseudo-depression, and so I found a lot of comfort at that point in this little routine of having dinner and playing through a Zelda game. And that carried over into my playthrough of Wind Waker, and a little bit into my playthrough of Twilight Princess. But this is where things turned around. And this is why I think the Nintendo Switch, even though it's just a video game system, it holds this very special place for me, because it was at this sort of crucial crux in my life that I finally got things turned around. I got back up on my feet, picked myself up by my bootstraps, if you will, because I made the choice, even though I'd never streamed through a game before, I was like, I'm gonna get this thing, I'm gonna bring it home. I pre-ordered it. I had to drive like 3 hours to pick it up, because I got it on Best Buy's website, and at the time they'd sold out of their online pre-orders, but you could still get it in a store, and the only store that still had one, literally the only store, was like 2 hours away, and I got it. And I said, when I get home with this thing, I'm going to stream Breath of the Wild. And so I got it. I remember it was me, my mom, and my little brother. Because I told them, I was like, I'm going to have to go up on this this random... oh, by the way, everything worked out. It was a miracle. I think it was on a Tuesday. I might be misremembering. It might have been on a Friday. I don't know. Whatever. No, it was a Friday. Because the next day was my nephew's birthday. So it was on a Friday they released that system, March the 3rd. Unless I'm very much wrong. For some reason, I had that day off. I didn't ask for it. I didn't schedule it. But somehow, I got the day off. Without having to... Because I wasn't going to ask for the day off to go get a Nintendo. I was a grown man, right? I wasn't that embarrassing. So, I was like, I'll go pick it up after work. But I ended up having the day off. And I mentioned to like, my mom. And she was like, oh, I wouldn't mind going over there anyway. You know, maybe we can go with you. And Micah would like to come as well. And Micah did come, and he refused to play Snipper Clips with me at the Cheddar's where we had lunch, and was embarrassed by me setting up the console there. Which is funny to think about now. He's like, put that thing away. Put your toy away. I was like, no, playing Snipper Clips. And the waitress came over and was taking our order. She's like, is that the new Nintendo? I said, yeah, it is. She goes, oh, wow. I was like, yeah, I know. It's so cool, isn't it? And my brother hated that. Oh, that. Mike, I love Mike. If you don't watch our series together on this channel, you should have a look at it. But he really hated now that not only did I have my toy out at the Cheddar's, but now the waitress was involved. He was a teenager. He was too cool for all of this. Oh boy, but did he love playing 1-2 Switch later that night? Yeah, because I did take it home. And I did stream, and it was probably the most successful stream I'd ever done. And it was a ton of fun. And it turns out Breath of the Wild would quickly become one of my favorite games of all time. And I did take it with me to my parents' house that next day. We're finally talking about the Switch here, people. I don't know how long this video's been up until now, but we're finally talking about the Switch. I took it over to my parents' house that night. We all played 1-2 Switch. Micah got real into it. He did not put on the strap. He did swing the baseball bat, and he did smash that Joy-Con on the ground and shatter the joystick. And he did buy me a new Joy-Con the next day. And thank goodness for it. It was pretty much all they had at GameStop. We went to GameStop that next day, and I was like, I just need a new controller. And they were like, good, because that's all we got. We ain't got no systems. We sold out of most of the games. But we have a Joy-Con set. And I would go on later, once like used parts became... Or not used parts, but secondhand like parts on eBay became super prevalent. I bought another joystick and just replaced it. And I still have those Joy-Cons. The Joy-Con my brother smashed is still inoperable condition to this day, thanks to that one simple fix. But I just thought that was so funny. You got so did you start the day being like, put your toy away, and by the end of the day you're like, I love playing this baseball so much. Oh, I've shattered the controller. Not at all what Micah sounds like. But I took it with me to, you know, I played Breath of the Wild the next day on the car ride to my nephew's birthday. I subjected people to 1-2 Switch at the birthday party. I remember my niece, my oldest niece at the time, kind of leaning over my shoulder and watching me play. She came home with us that day and just watching me play Breath of the Wild and be like, that's very interesting. I was like, do you want to play? It's like, no. But she just watched me play the whole ride home. And, you know, we streamed through it and a ton. And the reason this is so important is because this is, some of you folks might remember movie night. Micah, Jenna, Brenton, they come over. We watch a movie. We do this every week, sometimes twice a week. Yeah, I started being social again. It was great. I rebuilt the bonds of friendship, and they were strong. We ended up doing streams together, which were a ton of fun. If you ever wondered where the legend of like the Apple people and the Banana Baba and all that came out of, it was just from those streams. It was random things we talked about during those streams. We'd have our movie nights. We did series together, and yeah, life healed. Life healed with the Nintendo Switch. And it wasn't because of the Switch at all, but the Switch was there during that time, you know. And we would go on to, like, obviously Brenton got a Switch. Jenna, I got Jenna a Switch for her birthday, and we played a ton of Mario Kart. We played through Trine together, which was a great time. We had so much fun with the Switch. It was always kind of there. And I streamed. And I had a bunch of streams on the Switch. I streamed through, you know, Zelda. I would go back and play the other 2 Mario games. Or not Mario games. I would go through and play the other 2 Zelda games on the Wii U. You know, we streamed those as well. But I played Skyrim for the first time on the Switch, which was a wild experience. You know, I wouldn't do it now because I really like all the sort of overhaul mods you can put on it on PC. If I was going to stream through it again, it would definitely be on PC. But I had such a fun time. And that's what kicked off me playing through... Like, this was... I'm not joking when I say that I believe 2017 to 2019 was the golden age of Howdy Folks. And I know for a lot of people, you would say it was before that, because that's when your favorite series was. Or you'd say it was after that, because you really liked the Final Fantasies and all of that. But for me, it really was 2017, 2018, 2019. That was... Because that's when I streamed through the Zeldas, and when I streamed through... Like, it was streaming. It was so much fun. And the Kingdom Hearts games on the PS4, and the sort of the lead up to the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, and getting really engrossed in that franchise and that fandom. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake, and getting really engrossed in that fandom. And doing those streams, I mean, that came out early 2020, I believe, but it was still, you know, part of that golden age, and it was just so much fun, so enjoyable. And I'm not trying to sort of state that in any way it was because of the Nintendo Switch. I don't want that to be your takeaway from this. I didn't realize there was more sand in this box. I thought I used all the sand. Why did I not remember there being sand in here? Let me just go ahead and state flatly that the Nintendo Switch did not change my life. Although I might title the video that. It's rather my life changed for the better, and it was at a time while the Switch was there. Does that make sense? The Switch was around for this transformation. It's like any of those movies where you get a dog, and the dog doesn't really change your life, but a bunch of really great things happen, and the dog was there, and then at the end the dog dies. Except in this case, the Switch didn't die. I still have that exact same Switch. It goes on family vacations now. I have the Switch OLED. It's the one I primarily play on, but I bring that original Switch on every family vacation, basically. So if we are out somewhere and we have all these grand plans of going and doing things, and then it starts raining, or we're just waiting on someone to get ready, that's what comes up a lot. In fact, most of the gaming that I've done on vacations has been just waiting on people to get ready so we can actually go out and have fun on the vacation. Man, let me tell you, you fire up Mario Kart, or I'll tell you what, you know what's gotten a lot of play? Gosh darn, if you ever played, what is it, Ultimate Chicken Horse? That game gets a ton of play. I took that with me I went to Schlitterbahn to some friends last summer. That was a fun trip. But we played a lot of Ultimate Chicken Horse, waiting on people to be ready to actually go into the park. And went on a family vacation last summer. Literally, the weekend before a hurricane blew through and dropped a tree on my house. That's how I remember that family vacation. Ah, yes, the time a tree fell on my house. What a great experience. It was after the trip, to be fair. But yeah, ton of Ultimate Chicken Horse got played while waiting on people to be ready to go out. So the Switch has gone around. And I'll tell you what, I did a lot of gaming on the Switch. Because it was easy to carry with me. I could actually take it to work with me, which has always perplexed people. Like, you play video games at work? Kinda. I spent a lot of time riding shotgun in between, you know, actually doing work. And nowadays, I spend that time editing videos. But for most of 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, and early 22, playing games on the Switch. I played a ton of games that I just never would have been able to play or have had time to play otherwise, you know? Would I have played all of Metroid Dread if it was bound to my TV? No, but the fact that I could carry it with me, although I played a lot of that game on the front porch. It was cold outside, I would start like a little fire. No, you know what I did? There wasn't a fire. I had this big hot lamp that I put out front for like cats when it's really cold, for them to come, because there's cats that won't come inside, but I don't want them to freeze. So I have this big halogen lamp, and I would just sit on top of it, and they would crowd around it, and I would just play Metroid Dread, and they would wait for me to go inside so they could then sit in the chair above the lamp and lounge about and have a great time. But yeah, I listen, Nintendo Switch was great, and I played a ton of games that I haven't even talked about yet, you know? Mario Odyssey. Talk about a great game. I looked at JD and I said, have you ever played this Mario Odyssey? He said, no, sir. You gotta play it, JD. You gotta play it. I will stand by my belief that everyone's saying that Bowser's Fury is the direction that Mario needs to go in. They are wrong. Mario Odyssey is one of the greatest video games. I'm gonna let you finish. Mario Odyssey is one of the greatest video games of all time. I will stand by that until my dying day. I adore that game. A great time all around. I'm gonna have to title this video like Incoherent Rambling about the Nintendo Switch. I feel like if I took everything I just said and tightened it up, I could make a script for a great Nintendo Switch retrospective, but it would need to be tightened. It couldn't be rambling. It would need to be presented properly. Be like, what does the Nintendo Switch mean to you? For a lot of people, it was just a game system. But I'm not joking when I say the Nintendo Switch changed my life. But I would be joking, because as explained, the Nintendo Switch did not change my life. The Nintendo Switch just happened to be present while my life was changing. For the better, which is fine. Like, that's also, like, it's an okay title. The Nintendo Switch was present. Well, no, it's not. It's a fine sentiment, but it's not a great title. Who clicks on a video that says the Nintendo Switch was present while my life changed? I guess I could call it a companion, right? Like, through the ups and downs and all the changes, the Nintendo Switch was there. That's a little bit... That's more honest. It may be still a little hyperbolic to call it a companion. The Nintendo Switch has never called in to check on me and ask me how I was doing, I'll tell you that. If you're wondering why I haven't done, like, a detailed discussion of, Animal Crossing New Horizons, it's because it was fine. I played a bit of it. I think a lot of people have a deep affection for that game because of COVID lockdown stuff, and I lived in Texas. So we allegedly had 2 weeks to slow the spread, but no one really abided it. The most impact that COVID had on my life, and I feel so sorry for people when I hear about what a traumatic few years the COVID experience was for them. But the biggest impact on my life was for about 2 months, work was slow, but I still went to work literally every day. Sometimes I got home as early as like 2 or 3 o'clock, which was cool, but I still went to work every day. And every so often, you'd have to carry around, like, a gator or something. Because once in a blue moon, you'd go in a place, and someone would start screaming at you to put on a mask, and you just have to wave them off and stick it on, and get through it. But it wasn't all places, and it wasn't most places, because most people didn't care. I had such a different, I think, COVID experience than so many people on the internet. I would listen to podcasts at the time, you know, because I listened to a ton of video game podcasts. That's something else that started around 2017. You know what? There's something else to talk about, but I'll get back to it. But I'd hear about people being like, yeah, my life's been so affected, and I've got all of this depression, and I miss seeing people's faces and things. I'm like, man, we are having wildly different experiences out here in the world, I gotta say. And we truly were. We truly were having very different experiences. But, yeah, I got into video game, I guess you would call it, and I cringe a little bit at this, but culture? With this around the time of the Switch, because at that point, I'll tell you, well, just being a YouTuber, really, more than anything, got me into gaming more than I ever had been. Because, like, you know, growing up, I've sort of loosely explained my gaming experience growing up, but I guess because I have to kill a little bit more time and collect a few more logs, to go into it in more detail, you know, I played licensed games. I played Star Wars games. That's what I knew I liked. I liked Star Wars, so no matter what system I had, I pretty much just bought Star Wars games for it. And I've had, you know, I didn't know about what the really good games were for whatever system I owned. Like, whatever classic PlayStation 2 games you played growing up, I played Battlefront, baby. And Battlefront 2, objectively better, but there's a lot about the original Battlefront that I still love and hold dear, I gotta say. Battlefront 1 has its perks, it has its upsides. But I didn't really get into gaming culture until I started making YouTube videos. And at that point, like, the inspiration for creating content online was basically, my friends were playing, like, Call of Duty, so I started playing Call of Duty. And we all played Call of Duty together. I watched some Scene Anders videos. A Scene Anders video went up about Minecraft. I thought that looked fascinating. I got hooked on his X-Jaws. Him and X-Jaws had a series. Not together. They each had a series. And I was like, I could do this. This looks like fun. I want to make a Minecraft series. And then, of course, the Yogscast came out, and I was like, I want to make a Minecraft series with my friend. You know, this is I feel like the kind of energy we could bring to it. We did not. Mine and Austin's series did not bring that kind of energy to it. But it was still a ton of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And that's what got me started on YouTube. But I wasn't like a big gamer, right? Where I knew all the different lores and references. But once I started creating content, I started getting recommended content. I started getting recommended things by, like, the AVGN, you know, and JonTron. I started watching more videos about, like, gaming facts, and I got just sucked into the world and culture of gaming. And that's where I started to hear the references to things like, hey, listen, you know, with no concept of what that was. And it was always fun to have, I've always called it secondhand nostalgia, when you start playing something and you start getting the references to that thing, and they start hitting you like, oh, this is what that was a reference, oh, I get it now! And you get like a secondhand sense of nostalgia, even though you never experienced it. I remember the first time I played through Final Fantasy VII. It was on the Nintendo Switch. It was 2019, I want to say. Could have been 2018. I'll have to check the save. But whenever that came out on the Switch, I started playing through it for the first time. And I remember, like, being Cloud. At that point, the most I knew... I want to say I knew about Kingdom Hearts. I had played Kingdom Hearts already by the time I had started playing Final Fantasy VII. So I was like, oh, Cloud's not as depressed as I thought he was based on that. But I also remember meeting Aerith, and I'm like, I don't think your story ends well. Couldn't tell you why I knew that, or how I knew that. Is this not going to grow? Goodness. But I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get super attached to you, because I feel like through gaming osmosis, I've picked up information about you, and I probably shouldn't get too attached. Yeah, I'm running out of steam here. I don't think I have much else I can say about the Nintendo Switch, other than it was a great system, a fun system, and to be quite honest, I'm not all that excited for the Switch 2. Oh no, that happened again, huh? Sorry about that, my guy. Oh, he's like full of health, though. He's fine. He doesn't seem to really care all that much. Outside of, again, playing the Xenoblade Chronicles games at higher resolutions, hopefully. I don't know. I mean, if it's multi-platform, I'm just not buying it on the Switch. It's just not happening. If it's multi-plat, it's getting purchased on Steam. If it's only on Epic, I just won't buy it until it comes to Steam. That's my new thing. Where I'm just like... there was a time where if a game came out and was Epic exclusive for a period, I'd just grab it on PlayStation or Switch. Well, my actual order of purchase was, if it's on all platforms but not on Steam, Switch. Even if it's the worst version of it, because I can take it with me, and that mattered. And if it's not on Switch, Xbox, because I had the One X, and it was more powerful than the 4 Pro. And then finally, PlayStation, you know, if I have no other options. That's changed a lot now. That's changed an awful lot now, where it's like, if it's available on all platforms but not on Steam, I either won't buy it at all, I'll wait, because they always come to Steam eventually, or I'll get it on the PS5, you know, because I'd rather play things on the PS5 than I would the Series X, especially because my Series X that I bought secondhand seems to have a problem with the disk drive, but only with PlayStation 360 titles. As Mike and I have learned while recording a series that has not been published yet, because we decided not to publish it until we'd recorded the whole thing, which was a good call, because we haven't recorded it in like 2 months. We're going to finish it at some point. You'll see it when it comes out. I'll let you know. But assuming I am not willing to wait for it and I want to play it immediately, my new play order is PC if it's there, if it's on Steam, if it's on PC but it's not on Steam and I don't want to wait for it, PlayStation. And the other two consoles just don't come into the mix. I'm not getting it. If it's a multi-plat, I'm not getting it on the Switch. It's not happening, and that's not changing with the Switch 2. I'm still not. I'd rather just get it on the PS5. I've got the PS5 Pro. I'm a sucker, what can I say? I just don't want to buy things on Xbox. I want to just get everything on Steam. Look, if I get it on Steam, I know you can play your Epic games on the Steam Deck, but I'm not going to. I don't support Epic. As a company, I don't support their stupid subpar launcher. So I would much rather just wait till it's on Steam or not play it at all. That's kind of where I am right now. And if something comes out on Steam and on, you know, the Switch 2, why on earth would I buy it on the Switch 2 when I can play it on the go on my deck, and then also play it on my PC, and then also not have to go through Nintendo to get it? Because again, I love Nintendo's products. I love their IP. I love their games. I love their system. I don't like Nintendo as a company. I'm not going to go out of my way to, like, support them when I don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, there's Nintendo IP that I love that I will get if it's good. I'm not going to blindly buy whatever comes out. Like this Mario Kart World, I need to see that it's worth $80 before I spend $80 on it. I need to see a bit more. And there's some events, I think maybe even by now, by the time this video comes out, an event's already happened where they go into more detail about the games. So maybe I can't really speak to that at the moment. Maybe we ought to just be patient and wait and see where that goes. But I don't know. We'll see. We've been at this for an hour 15. Now, granted, a great deal of that time, not a great deal of it, but a sizable amount of that time was spent enchanting a hoe. So, and also breeding Allays. But even so, we've not even filled up 2 of the containers. And I still don't think we have enough wood. We might have to scale back the size of the project. Recently watched all the Planet of the Apes movies that I'd missed out on. That's a hard shifted conversation, isn't it? I don't know. I wish I'd kind of like done a flow chart of how I wanted to talk about video games and the history of the Switch, because I feel like I've done a pretty poor job of it so far, and that I've missed details, and then I'm going to realize in editing that I could have done a better job. Maybe we do this again in like, what, July? Is that when the Switch is coming out? The Switch 2 is coming out? Maybe then. Did my guy just put sticks up there? What happened? I'm confused about what I just saw. Thank you. But yeah, look, I remember one day while cleaning my room, this is a decade ago now, when I lived with my parents. More than a decade ago now, I'm realizing. Back when we had television that they streamed to your house via copper cable. I know, it's a wild concept, but basically you couldn't control what was on, you just had to flip through the channels, like a lot of live stream broadcasts, and hope that someone had what you wanted to watch. I know this is a wild concept for many of you, but I did that one day while I was working on, like, doing a deep, thorough clean of my room. Like, I was purging the room clean. And the Planet of the Apes movies were on, which I'd never actually watched. Like, I'd seen bits and pieces of them. I decided to watch them one day, and like, they were on. It was the first one was coming on, and it was a marathon of all 5 original films. And I said, yeah, all right, why not? You know, I'll just have this on in the background. And I got hooked, man, let me tell you. They're not fantastic films. The first one's great, and some of the other ones have some interesting moments. For the most part, I would rate them all a solid, like, the entire series a 3 out of 5. It's not great, but it's not awful. And it's engaging and interesting. Interesting ideas as well, a lot of philosophy. Interesting ideas, interesting concepts. But I watched them all, thoroughly enjoyed them, and then when they announced that they were doing the new series, you know, with Gollum and the Green Goblin, you know, Harry, you know, I was like, oh, well, this ought to be interesting, this ought to be intriguing, and it was. You know, I watched the first one, which, here's the thing. I believe these movies are misnamed. I think the first one is Rise of the Planet of the Apes, is the one where the virus gets created, and then the next one is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and that's stupid. It should be Dawn, and then Rise. But in any case, I watched the 2 of those, thoroughly enjoyed them. Didn't watch the 3rd one, and the 4th one came out last year. I did not realize 2017 was when... what is it called? Is it War of the Planet of the Apes? Is that it? Yeah. I didn't realize that came out in 2017. I did not realize... That's when the Switch came out! I thought that one was like a couple of years ago. And then I was like, oh, I remember that it came out in theaters. I didn't get the chance to go see it. But I said I'll watch it as soon as it's out, you know, at home video, as we used to say back then. I'll pick it up at the Vision Video. I'll pick it up at the Hastings, at the Blockbuster, you know, on VHS, and I'll watch it. I'm being a little hyperbolic here. Well, not even hyperbolic. I'm being a little joke. I'm joking right now. I'm being a little jokester, being a little funny prankster here. But I wanted to watch it when it came out, and I just never did. But I got a video recommended to me about the 2001 Planet of the Apes movie, which I'd always heard was just awful. And I said, you know what? Maybe now's the time. For whatever reason, I was like, I'm gonna watch this train wreck. So I watched the 2001 Planet of the Apes movie, and I gotta tell you, it's not that bad. The problem with it is not that it's bad. It's not a bad movie. The problem with it is that it's just not good. There's so many little elements missing. I could go through that movie scene by scene and tell you exactly what to do different to make a better movie. Because there's things missing from it. It's just missing the things that would make it good. So all we have is a movie that's not good, but it's also just not bad. It just exists. But after watching that, I said, you know what? I probably should go ahead and watch the 2 I've missed out on. And I watched them, and they're fine. War was just such a slog. And it was such a miserable film. It was such a miserable... Why are all of these movies miserable? Did you ever watch the originals? They're not miserable. You know, even when they're dealing with really heavy subjects and concepts, they're not misery-inducing. But, yeah, I don't know. That one was just depressing. And they did that thing that they keep trying to do, where they make believe that Woody Harrelson is intimidating. And he's a tough guy, and he's just not. I can't look at Woody Harrelson trying to be a tough guy and see anything other than like a Ethan Ralph type. I'm just not intimidated by Woody Harrelson. Stop trying to make him a tough guy. Stop trying to make him intimidating. Stop trying to make him a badass. He's not. He's Woody Harrelson. He's Woody from Cheers. I can't take it seriously. It's laughable. It's funny. I just, it doesn't work for me. It detracted from the entire film. I liked how it ended with his character, and I like how it happened with the doll. In case you haven't seen it, I won't say more than that, but when they kind of show at the end what happened to him, and they show the doll and everything, I was like, oh, that is so good. I like that. That's great. But the whole movie is just so depressing and dour, and I didn't care. I don't know. It dragged on, and I could say the same thing about King. Like, these movies are overly long. I think they would warrant that length if they were good. If things happened, I feel like, you know, it would... Kingdom, I liked Kingdom more than War. Like, I want to make it very clear, I didn't hate either of these films, and I didn't think either of them were bad movies. But, I didn't care much for War. Kingdom was a little bit better, but also at the same time, just dragged on a bit, and I don't know what the point of it was. Ultimately, it ended, and I was like, what is the point of this movie? It kind of made, actually, watching War made me question what the point of Rise was, or Dawn. Rise was the first one. That's what I'm saying. It's confusing, isn't it? What was the point of the one where they have the power plant? Why? And you have Kobo or whatever. You could have just rolled those two movies together and gotten the same effect. There's no reason for it. I don't understand why they're trying to kill them in War for the Planet of the Apes. Why? Why are you trying to kill them? Why are you trying to kill the monkeys? They've done nothing to you. They can't hurt you. Leave them alone in the woods. They're not coming after you. Makes no sense. One of the things that I liked about Planet of the Apes, the original 5 films, is that they form an open time loop. It's not a closed time loop. Like, if you've ever watched or read the third Harry Potter book/movie, A Prisoner of Azkaban, that's a closed loop. You know, Harry gets hit in the back of the head with a rock because Harry time traveled and threw a rock at himself, right? It's a closed system. But what I like about those movies is that it's an open system, you know? The events that lead to the original film, you have time travel. Just slight spoilers for the original Planet. I do recommend watching them. They're pretty good. But the events that lead to the first movie, you have time travel in the third one that seem like they're setting that up. But then you get to the end of the 5th one, and the 5th one is all about, like, well, it's not all about it, but there is a whole element of, well, can you change the future? Are things destined to repeat? Is this a closed loop? And you find out, at the end of it, no. It's not a closed, it's an open loop. So, events occurred that led to the first Planet of the Apes movies, and then events occur that mirror those, but have a different outcome, and you realize, oh, it's not going to repeat itself. You have a different, more positive future at the end of it. I've seen people be like, oh, and the system repeats. That's what the message is at the end of the 5th. No, it's not. You didn't watch the movie well enough if that's where you left it off. Because there's a big time jump in the vast few seconds of that movie where they show, like, you know, they're a few hundred years on. They're like, and here we are, I guess spoilers, man and ape living together in peace. And, you know, you realize, like, oh, okay, it's an open loop. You know, this Caesar is not the original Caesar, and these aren't the original events, which is what got me excited when the new movie started coming out, where I was like, oh my gosh, this is the first cycle. It's the beginning of what would form the open loop. That's so cool, how they're doing this, and I got really excited by it. And now there's a rumor that this is going to be a 9-picture deal, and actually they're going to remake, like the movies 7, 8, and 9 are going to be a remake of the original 5 films. I'm like, oh, I don't need that. We've already got a perfect system explaining how, like, it's an open loop. You could literally just have these movies end where the first Planet of the Apes from 1968 begins, and it's the perfect series of films, right? Because that leads into, like, okay, you've just watched these 9 movies that explain how we get to Planet of the Apes, and then you watch those movies. What is it? Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Time-Traveling Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet... That's not what the third one is called. I don't remember what the third one's called. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes and Battle for the Planet of the Apes. And that one ends the open time loop, saying, like, look, events happen sort of similarly, but different, and the future is brighter. And you've got the perfect series of films. I like that. I think just leave it be. Just leave it be. Don't try to remake it. You don't need to. We've got the unless the idea is that you have the original 5 films, and then there's an unseen 6th movie, where it turns out humans and apes did not coexist, and they time traveled again, and, you know, Rise of the Planet of the Apes is the start of another loop in the cycle of this open loop where everything keeps repeating and events are almost but not quite similar. They're similar but not identical. You always have this Caesar figure who says no to some extent. You always have some sort of war and fallout with you. Like, don't cook it. Don't cook it, because it works the way it is now. It works the way that it is now. Gosh darn it, you don't ruin it. Oh man, that's almost 2 full chests. I think we better call it there, folks. I'm sorry for whatever this video turned out to be. I'm sorry for this rambling mess of a video. I hope that you've enjoyed it. And we've got a superstructure to build. In the next episode, where we go mask off! And finally, 10 years of content creation, it's been revealed this has been truly a Christian Minecraft series all along. Thank you folks for watching. God bless you, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.